watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good afternoon to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon live on Fox Local, fox35orlando.com, and also on YouTube. It is 4 o'clock and that means it's time for today's Top 4 at 4, where we break down 4 of the big stories that we're tracking in the Fox 35 newsroom this afternoon. And joining us live now for today's Top 4 at 4 is Fox 35 News anchor John Brown. And John, we appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, we'll jump right into it here. New details on the shooting suspect at Florida State University. That suspect, of course, 20-year-old Phoenix Ikner. So his background is complicated, so we'll try and go through this here. His biological mother allegedly kidnapped him back in 2015 when he was only 11 and took him to Norway. That, by the way, was in violation of a custody arrangement according to the Leon County court records. He's now 20 years old, and he's the student accused of causing the big campus issue yesterday and opening fire there, killing 2 people and injuring 6 others. 5 of them sustained gunshot wound injuries, and 1 of whom was injured running from the gunfire. Okay, we know that the woman who was mentioned yesterday, Deputy Jessica Ikner, that's the stepmom in this case. Biological mother told Ikner's father back in March of 2015 in an email that she was going to take him to South Florida for spring break, but then she allegedly fled the country, and that violated the custody agreement. The affidavit also states that Ikner has developmental delays, special needs. His father feared that he wouldn't get the proper care if he was taken outside of the United States. And I know we talked to a divorce attorney today who handles cases like this and says, you know, it's hard enough when you add this much more dysfunction to a child's upbringing, in addition to all the other issues he had, it can make things really complicated from parents and for the student here in this case.
Yeah, and certainly a troubled background there, as those court documents are really kind of painting that picture. So starting to certainly learn more, although still a lot of questions about what may have led to something like this, but starting to learn a little bit more about that 20-year-old suspect.
Yeah, and significant, like it says here, significant health and mental health issues. And investigators still haven't said what the motivation was in this case. I think that'll help people understand a whole lot more what might have been going on there. So that's the latest on the suspect there. Also today, better idea of how the shooting and the response played out. Very short time frame here. So 11 a.m. yesterday, the suspect arrived at the FSU parking garage. He stayed in the area for about an hour, moving in and out of the vehicle. They say he looked very nervous. At 11:51, he leaves the parking garage. As you see right there, 11:56 to 11:57, that's when the first shots were reportedly fired. Then 11:58, multiple 911 calls. Nearby officers respond, and by 12 o'clock, just 4 minutes later, 3 to 4 minutes later, the suspect is shot by officers and is taken into custody. What baffles me, this whole thing was only about 4 minutes from the moment the shooting started until he was taken into custody, and then it took several more minutes for the alert to be sent out to the students there. That just shows how quick all this happened, because a lot of times you hear the alerts going out to everybody while it's still going on, but this was just so quick that they didn't have a time to even do it at that point.
Right. I mean, that first FSU alert, I believe, was time-stamped 12:02. So at that point, the suspect was shot and taken into custody. But yeah, to your point, it sounds like officers were already in the area, likely heard the gunfire or some of the noise associated with what was happening and able to respond right away. We know that they responded very quickly, were able to take that suspect down. And that was one of the things earlier today, the Tallahassee Police Chief was on Live Now from Fox with our friend Josh Breslow, and was talking about that quick response and how they think that was able to make such a difference in this.
Of the men and women of the Tallahassee Police Department, as well as FSU's police department, and then all of our federal, state, and local partners. This was really a seamless collaboration that came together, like you said, incredibly quickly. Our response time was within 2 minutes of the initial call going out, and the entire incident was over within 5 minutes. And then, of course, the follow-up of clearing buildings and all that goes into that, making sure there aren't other shooters and all. That process then takes place. So that doesn't occur without the relationships that we built with, again, all of those partners, our federal, state, and local partners, making sure that we're training not only as an individual agency, but that we're training with all of our first responders, our medical personnel, our fire department. We train with them on a yearly basis and make sure that we look at how do we handle these types of scenes? And as I was responding and as I was running into the middle of that yesterday at the very beginning, I saw teams of officers with rifles and helmets, running into to buildings with that element of the other first responders, the paramedics, and the EMS personnel embedded in those teams. And so that's exactly what we train for. And in those type of situations, to see that come into play without hesitation, I could not be more proud of the response from yesterday.
Well, and even just to, they did respond quickly. It could have been a whole lot worse. And yet at the same time, even in that 5 minutes, he was able to cause a lot of damage.
Yeah, certainly. And one thing that just hit me when we were listening to him do that, we've all seen the interview probably by now of the young man who was on the backside of the student union, and he was talking about everything that he saw there. That interview, if you look at it online, is 3 minutes. And think about this, it took him as long to describe what he saw as the entire thing played out practically. And I don't know why that baffles me so much. It's like he's saying what happened. That was the actual timeline of the whole, the guy explaining what happened nailed it. He nailed the timeline and everything else that was going on, which I think is fascinating that it was this quick. And thank goodness those officers were there that close too.
Right.
Meanwhile, we know more about the victims today as well. They say all the victims here in the shooting expected to make a full recovery. They were taken to hospitals in stable condition on Thursday. Again, gunshot wounds to various parts of the body, including the face, torso, and abdomen. 3 of the victims required surgery. That's according to hospital staff. Now, the hospital is still not confirming the ages or say whether the gunman was among the 6 who were being treated there. And again, 2 of the victims expect to be discharged today, so that's great news. And so hopefully they're going to do okay down the road too. So also seen the video of the young woman who appears to be shot in the lower torso area. I think that's the one a lot of people are wondering how she's doing, because it was so graphic when you saw it, but then they say everybody's going to be okay. I think that's the one a lot of people want to hear about, how she's doing after seeing what we saw out on social media there.
And they talked about how several of I think it was 3 were within the hour of arriving to the hospital, were taken into the operating room. 2 people expected to be discharged today potentially. So some good news there. At a news conference this afternoon at the hospital, the Florida State University president, Dr. Richard McCullough, spoke and was just thanking the medical team for everything they were able to do responding to a situation like this.
From the bottom of my heart, I just wanted to express our gratitude to the healthcare professionals who took care of our students who were shot and injured, and we just appreciate it so much. We can't say enough good things about Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare. The hospital's done an amazing job with us throughout this tragedy, and we just appreciate so much the great job that everybody's done here. I just wanted to express that gratitude to all of you.
And so, again, thankful that everyone who is at the hospital there, they said, going to be able to make a full recovery.
Yeah,
so
that's great news there. Meanwhile, Florida State is going to hold a gathering of unity vigil tonight, 5 p.m. It's going to take place at the Langford Green, which is in front of the Unconquered statue there. FSU community, they say, invited to come together to mourn the victims and everyone who's been affected by the tragedy. They say the event is an opportunity for us to stand in solidarity, offer support, and find strength and unity during this difficult time. I know a lot of students have already left campus. We have some friends who have already come back for the weekend. But again, like we were talking about yesterday, you're only 10 days away from finals. This school year was almost over, and maybe that's good. You go back, take your finals, and then just get out of there for a while. Sometimes distance, come back to your thing at home or whatever you do. It might be good to get out of the university for a while and let things calm down.
Because it's certainly going to take time for folks to heal. This was some images from this morning of the growing memorial outside the student union there. And Fox 35's Marie Ettinger caught up with one student who was a freshman, talking about just kind of the impact that this has and what things will be like going forward, and the importance of kind of banding together, coming together as a community and being there for each other in a time like this.
That's all I can really explain. You never want to think that the place that you call home would have this happen. It's heartbreaking, it's scary, you know, it's like a piece of the innocence of the school has been taken away from us. So it's just like, with all this going on, and it's just hard to think about and trying to continue forward as a school and together as a community.
What made you want to come out this morning?
I wanted to pay my respects to see and everything, you know, like I go here, this is my place. So it's just, I wanted to see, you know, we lost 2 people, and even if they weren't students, they were still people near and dear to the Florida State community. So it's just coming here to pay my respects and honestly just seeing the sense of community around here too, and seeing how everyone can come together in this time.
But you're right, you know, talking about the end of the school year and maybe some distance might be a good thing, because this is going to be something that is going to take time for folks to recover from. It's tough. You
know, and you feel bad for all those students because that becomes a part of your existence there. But the one group that I really feel awful for, and I heard some talk about it today, was the Parkland students. Like that was in 2018 in February. So, you know, similar time of year, getting ready towards the end of the school year. Those students saw that in high school. And there's a bunch of them apparently at Florida State. Then they go up to college and they have to relive that. Boy, those kids, I mean, what do you even say about that? They've experienced twice in their educational career seeing something like this. That's, I feel really bad for those kids, that's for sure.
It's a tragedy just on so many different levels. John, we appreciate you joining us for today's Top 4 at 4. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Laurel Blanchard joins me now. And Laurel, we are off to a nice start for this Easter weekend.
Oh yeah, I honestly can't think of anything better to kick off a weekend, or even better, end off a work week. It is beautiful out there as we take a look over downtown Orlando right now. A little bit on the breezy side, and heads up, those winds are going to pick up a little bit more as we take a look at the weekend ahead, but temperatures right now beautiful. We're lingering throughout the mid-80s right now, and we're starting to cool down as we head through the overnight tonight. We are going to see those crystal clear skies once again, a little bit breezy through the overnight tonight, but it is going to be a gorgeous start to the weekend. So if you do have any plans outdoors tonight, things look good to go.
And that's great. We know a lot of folks have outdoor plans this weekend with the holiday on Sunday, whether it's Easter egg hunts or whatever it might be. I've got to do some yard work tomorrow, I know. So things are going to cooperate. They're at least going to be, I think the word is dry.
Yeah, dry is a great word to describe it. It's also going to be on the warm side, but beautiful sunny skies for Saturday and Sunday. Take a look at those temperatures. 85 degrees on Saturday, 88 on Sunday. It's going to be warm. It's going to be sunny. So if you do have any brunch plans on Sunday, Garrett, you said yard work, it's going to be good for that. Make sure you do wear sunscreen, though, and stay hydrated because that sun really going to be strong, especially on Sunday. But sunny, hot, and dry is what we're using in order to explain this weekend. And even taking a look a little bit deeper into Easter Sunday, overall, those temperatures are already going to start off very warm out there. We're already looking at the low 70s at 9 a.m. on Sunday, continuing to warm up very quickly into the mid to upper 80s as we head through your Sunday afternoon, and still staying warm. Even if you do have any dinner plans for Sunday, things are still going to be throughout the mid to upper 80s as we take a look at your Sunday evening. Overall, we're going to keep the heat around on tap for the next couple of days, but as we wrap up through the overnight tonight, temperatures slowly going to start to cool down. We're going to see those temperatures bottom out as we start off the weekend throughout the upper 50s and low 60s. So mild through the overnight. Again, seeing that little bit of a breeze pick up, but mainly clear skies. So it's going to be a great start to the weekend for sure.
And then after that, though, we know this this dryness, this drought that we've been dealing with is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, Garrett, honestly, you're absolutely right on that. We are in a very dry pattern, and that's exactly how it's going to stay, at least for the next 7 days. And we've been even looking at models showing no rain in sight up to 2 weeks out. So right now, 40% of Florida is experiencing drought conditions, and for the first time this season, we are now seeing extreme drought conditions south of Port St. Lucie, so near Delray Beach and Fort Lauderdale. We are already starting to see those extremely dry conditions across southern Florida, so we are really in need for some rain, and unfortunately, we're not getting it anytime soon. So in order to combat that and kind of help us out, not starting any more brush fires that are across central Florida, there are burn bans all across central Florida in effect for now and through the near future. Volusia, Lake, Seminole, Orange, and Polk County has no burning whatsoever, with the exception of a contained fire or grilling outside of any kind. Anything other than that, no burning allowed in these counties, because yeah, you're right, it is absolutely dry out there. And what we're going to see, especially as we take a look at this week ahead, we're going to see those winds pick right back up. They're especially going to get a little on the gusty side as we take a look at the end of the weekend. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some fire weather warnings get reissued by the National Weather Service. And with that, with the National Weather Service criteria for a fire weather warning, it can shift around a little bit depending on where you are. But the National Weather Service Office of Melbourne defines and starts to put out fire weather warnings when wind gusts are between 20 and 30 miles per hour. The air is very dry, so the humidity in the air is below 35%, which is what we're seeing today. And as we do take a look, the ground is very, very dry. So pretty much we don't have the wind, but we have everything else at the moment to kind of construct that possibility of fire weather warnings. And we're still going to be seeing those very dry and a little bit more of those humid conditions taking a look ahead into next week. But again, we desperately need rain, and we are not going to even be seeing a stray shower on tap, at least through the middle of next week. So we are pretty much zero flat line for rain for the next 7 days. And that is definitely a concern for sure because of the latest wildfire count out there. Here, just from our system of just fires that are across the region, we can see a few in Brevard County, a couple in Lake County, as well as Sumter County. These are active fires, and with that gray that you can see, the possibility for some smoke in the air. So if you are a little bit sensitive, my allergies are definitely killing me right now. Make sure you're sticking with your allergy meds, and also just making sure you're staying inside or showering a little bit more often if you are a little bit more prone to having respiratory issues as we head through the next couple of days. Because yeah, with these fires continuing, it definitely might lead to some respiratory inflammation as we head through the next couple of days.
Laurel, kind of disheartening to see that 0%, not even any chance.
Not even any chance for the next 5 days, but even as we take a look at your 7-day, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we are dry. And to even put the nail in the coffin a little bit more, we're turning up the heat. We're going to see those temperatures throughout the upper 80s for the weekend, and then we're popping up into the 90s. And now I'm going to step over here so you can see the rest of the 7-day. we have no rain in sight. So we are flatlined at 0 for the next 7 days of rain, and we desperately need it for sure. Yeah. Noah and I were actually just looking at a couple of widespread models kind of going in about 2-3 weeks out, and we're not even seeing a drop of rain until possibly the middle of May. So it is definitely going to be a dry spell for sure.
And just even more of a reason to take those precautions with those fire weather warnings and those burn bans. Take those seriously so that we don't see more issues.
Take them seriously for sure, but I guess there is a little bit of a positive note as well. If you are planning on getting outside this weekend, it's going to be perfect for that. Yeah. It's going to be warm and sunny. Just make sure you're wearing that sunscreen and staying hydrated as we take a look at the weekend ahead. Yeah,
you're going to need that for sure. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Laurel Blanchard, we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Garrett.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. As we learn more about what happened yesterday in Tallahassee, we have gotten new details today about the timeline of events, got new details about the suspected shooter. We are also learning more and beginning to learn more about the shooting victims, and especially those two who were killed, did not survive the incident. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth had the chance to speak to the friend of one of those victims, and I spoke with her just a little bit ago on Florida Live.
So yes, I had a chance to speak with Carlos Cruz within the last 30 minutes, and it was a heavy conversation, obviously, because of the weight of what we are dealing with, but in the tone and in watching him describe his friend Robert Morales, you could see that he was still processing all of this. He talked about their relationship meeting while Mr. Morales was in school at FSU, and Mr. Cruz was also in school at FSU. And he says they're both of Cuban descent, and so they're both from South Florida, and just kind of, you meet someone and you just kind of vibe. And he says that they met, they had similar backgrounds, and it was pretty much an instant connection. And they have been friends, or had been friends, for over 30 years. And he described Mr. Morales as a taller man who kind of towered over his friend group, but a very calming and loving presence. He says that he was a a great husband, a wonderful dad, and was really, in many senses, a father figure to a lot of the students on campus and in and around Tallahassee. Not a couple years back in the 90s, after his time at FSU, he opened a restaurant, Gordo's. And as I was looking on social media, a lot of people, as the news was developing and we were starting to learn more about the victims, a lot of people were reposting stories about him saying, I knew that name sounded familiar. I knew that that face looked familiar because I remember going to eat at his restaurant when I was in school or traveling through Tallahassee. He wasn't working with that restaurant anymore. He had transitioned to work with dining services at the university, and so was well known by students on campus. And Mr. Cruz said he was often interacting with students on campus to make sure that they had a great dining experience. So someone who was certainly loved, and people are still processing that loss.
And certainly understandable. It's the kind of thing that just you cannot prepare for no matter what. Certainly understand them still processing that and dealing with that. And he was also a former high school coach.
I did learn that late this afternoon. Leon High School posted about him working with their football team. I believe he was a special teams coach and was not working with them anymore. But they talked about the impact of this loss, and you can see that this was someone who was well plugged into the community. So when we talk about this loss, so many people are feeling this across Tallahassee.
And Randy, as well, he leaves behind a family.
Yes, he was married, has one daughter. That's according to his friend. And I did get a chance to speak briefly by text with his brother, who said that he is on his way to Tallahassee and hoping to connect with him based on his availability. But he mentioned that, also in a post on social media, talked about their relationship and how special of a man Mr. Morales was. When I spoke with his friend, he said that he had just reconnected with his brother, and they were working to build their relationship that they, had just kind of grown apart over the years, and so was excited about building this relationship with his brother. And it's just devastating to know, just in an instant, everyone's worlds who were close to Mr. Morales have changed.
Yeah, just in an instant. We learned this afternoon the new information, the new timeline from Tallahassee Police saying that the entire incident lasted less than 5 minutes. And yet this is going to be a lifetime of pain and hurt for these loved ones, specifically of Robert Morales, who we're learning more about today.
Absolutely. And you also have to think about, I did also attend the news conference at the hospital this afternoon, and you think about the Morales's family, and then also talking with the doctors who responded to this tragedy. As those who were shot weren't killed but were shot, were taken for treatment, and the doctors talked about talking with the students, and they said they were coherent and were able to explain what had just happened to them, because doctors have to talk through, see where they are mentally as in a situation like this. But the doctors were saying they could still feel the shock of the students processing that they had just been shot.
Yeah, I thought it was striking to hear them talk about how they said they were clearly still trying to process that, were obviously in shock, yet they were clear-minded, and I thought it was striking to hear him say very, very brave as well.
Absolutely. And I hesitate to say good news, but it is good news in all of this. Officials say that potentially 2 of the victims should be released today. We know that in total 6 were treated at the hospital, and they were not clear about if one of the gunshot injuries is that of the suspect. But we know that in total they treated 6. We know on the campus 5 people were shot and then taken to the hospital and treated, in addition to one person who was injured, not shot, but injured in all of this. And so it is comforting to hear that the two are expected to get out today, and that doctors say that those who were injured or shot are expected to make a full recovery.
And then a vigil on campus at 5 o'clock.
Yes, that is set for 5 o'clock, and we will be in place for that. It is off Langston. Let me double check. It is near the stadium on campus. It is at Langford Green, excuse me, and it's in front of the Unconquered statue. And I was doing a little bit of research about this statue in particular, and on the website, it talked about the significance of the statue. So I imagine just the importance of doing it there. And on the website, it talked about this statue celebrates the human spirit that will not be defeated. And you think about what everyone on this campus has gone through, what the families of those people on campus have gone through, and the human spirit of wanting to continue to prevail despite tragedy. I imagine that will be part of the message tonight, but we will be in place for that.
Certainly a fitting symbol. We are going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. A man convicted of murder, spending more than 2 decades behind bars. He is now out, but not necessarily as a free man. Fox 35's Chris Lindsay joins us live now via Zoom. And Chris, what can you tell us about this unique situation in Brevard County?
So we've been sitting here at the Brevard County Jail the entire day waiting to see if Jeff Abramowski would be getting out today. It turns out he did. We were able to speak with him and his family. As you mentioned, he was convicted of murder of a Melbourne man in 2006. Ever since then, he's been in jail. And today, or yesterday rather, a judge ruled that they would overturn the conviction. As you mentioned, that does not mean that he is scot-free. That means that the conviction is overturned, and eventually he will have to go through the legal process, whether it be a trial or a plea or whatever have you. You can see them there, very emotional scene in each other's arms there as they walk down for the first time. He said he hadn't been outside of the walls with them since 2002. So a lot of emotions there.
Now, prosecutors say they still think he's guilty.
Yes, this is about the issue of new DNA testing that has been brought to light. So there was a motion filed by his lawyer saying there were other people at the scene, there was other DNA on the weapons, and that's the main point that led to this overturning of conviction. He himself is maintaining his innocence. He says he's been sitting in that cell this whole time knowing that he was innocent, and he knew that eventually this day would come. Again, this is just another legal hurdle. The lawyer says that they're going to focus on getting this thing overturned, which they were able to accomplish, get him a bond, or step number 2 in their plan. And then number 3, they just have to focus on the next steps in the legal process for that murder charge.
All right. Well, Fox 35's Chris Lindsay, who spoke with him. We look forward to seeing your story coming up on Fox 35 News and hearing from that man as well.
Thank you.
We are also following another story out of Brevard County, where a rally was held this afternoon in support of a teacher who is facing consequences over using a student's preferred name instead of their legal name in school. Joining us live now via Zoom to talk about this is Fox 35's Esther Bauer. And Esther, Melissa Calhoun is that the teacher. We've followed your reporting about the situation there. But what did we see in support of her this afternoon? Talk us through what the scene was.
Yeah, so we had, I would say, around 80 people, whether that is students, staff, and then people that had maybe graduated from Satellite High. We talked with someone, they graduated decades ago. They were here lining the sidewalks nearby the Satellite High School, but just a large amount of people with signs, honking horns, ultimately saying their goal is to show support and stand in solidarity with this teacher who in just a few weeks, end of the school year in May, BPS is not going to be bringing back. And what the district has told us is that she ultimately has violated state law. It's important to note that this student's parent is the one who alerted the school. So the parent said, I am being told that this teacher is calling my child by a name that isn't their legal name. They don't have the permission to do so. And so that's what prompted BPS to investigate this. And now, as we understand, the state is also investigating this. And this teacher, while she's not being renewed with BPS long term, she could also lose her teaching credentials in the state, ultimately for violating the state law that was passed, ultimately saying if a student does want to go by a name that is not their legal name and is relation to pronouns and their sex, then they have to have permission from the parents. Now, that was not the case, and that's why we're seeing this situation continue to play out. I will note the earlier reporting that we did, this was really focused on students that decided to walk out and leave school. That was, I would say, a smaller group. This group was a lot larger. Like I said, I think about 80 people lining up the sidewalks, and we've been monitoring this change.org petition that I just checked has reached about 53,000 signatures. So we know this is being watched across the state, but really across the nation, seeing what's going to happen with this situation.
For these people who are supporting her, certainly nice of them to show up and support her at this rally. But at the same time, as you said, it is state law. What are they hoping to see actually come from this?
Well, I think they argue that this is the first time we're seeing this law being used in the state. And so what they're saying is there's no precedent to go off of. And so the steps that the school board and the state are taking are just way too far. Some argue the law is vague. It doesn't really clearly show you what should happen in a situation like this. And they're really trying to just stop course now. They obviously didn't agree with the law when it was passed, but they don't want to see, teachers, I guess, being fearful of, am I going to lose my job? There's the argument of this teacher was just trying to create a welcoming environment for all students. But then when you go against state law, that's where it gets hard, right? So they are just wanting to ultimately push back on this. What we are expecting is a large turnout at Tuesday's school board meeting. And what we heard pretty frequently when speaking with students, staff, and people who are at this community support rally was our reporting we did on a teacher that was arrested for allegedly partying with students and now has her job back. So they're really saying these are two situations where they think one was handled with different standards than another one. So that was kind of the community vibe out here, and we're expecting a lot of the people that are showing up to rallies like this to attend the school board meeting and, bring that up. Say, why are we bringing back these teachers? Which I will note that teacher was cleared to return by state law to classroom, important to note, but they don't feel it's fair to get rid of one teacher if for other, controversial situations they can be kept.
Well, and that teacher now pulled from the classroom again, and questions, as you have talked with us about on here, questions about how that happened. So sounds like it could be a very interesting Brevard school board meeting next week.
Absolutely. And it really is important to know this is being talked about, nationwide.
Yeah.
So are we going to have some people coming into this meeting, people that are, tracking this and wanting to make their voices heard loud and clear? We shall see, but definitely a lively meeting for sure.
All right. Fox 35's Esther Bauer, we appreciate you joining us here on Fox 35 News Plus.
Absolutely. And we'll continue to follow.
All right. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us. As I said earlier today in one of our shows, we've had a lot of heavy news this week, and so as we head into this weekend, we'd like to end our show today with some lighter news, some positive news, some fun stuff to look forward to. And with that, let's talk a little theme parks and Epic Universe, because pass holder previews are going on right now. And joining us live now from Epic Universe is the one and only Theron White, lead publisher of EYNTK.info. And Theron, it looks like a beautiful day to be out at a beautiful theme park.
It is a perfect day to be out here. The sun is shining. We've got a blue sky, a couple of clouds, but no rain in sight. I'm getting my nice sunburn set in. And we're just touring through all the lands, and we're enjoying it. These annual pass holder previews have way less people than we initially anticipated. And so because of that, the lines are not as long as we thought they were going to be. I love it.
That's great to hear. What has the crowd been like? Sounds like pretty manageable.
It really has been manageable. I mean, walking through the park, I just got a picture all by myself at the entrance for the Kronos. That is the entrance to the park. And I mean, there is people here. There are 30, 45-minute waits for some attractions, but on average, I mean, about 20 minutes, you're going to be on to a majority of the rides outside of the major ones.
So where are we right now? I see you are standing right outside a portal.
Yes, so that says we, my friends, have dragons. We are right outside of the Isle of Burke. Currently, we are actually standing inside of Celestial Park. So we've got a lot of sunshine here. You might have difficulty seeing it, but we have got Celestial Park right behind me. We've got the Constellation Carousel right there. But when I called you guys, I was like, I got to take you into Burke. So as we go through the portal here, we're going into How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Burke, and it's a pretty transformative experience. We've got the huge screens in here. It's massive. You could basically drive a bus through this thing. And when you turn the corner, this is what you get to see. Well, maybe. There we go.
Beautiful, Darren. Looks great.
So this is the Isle of Burke. If you are a How to Train Your Dragon fan, there is nowhere on earth that is as immersive and as beautiful and as big as this. I mean, we've got waters, we've got the statues here, and we might catch it in just a second. We might get lucky enough to catch the roller coaster going by.
What is the standout in Isle of Burke? What makes it to you such a neat world there?
So I don't think just Isle of Burke just has necessarily one standout. I think the land itself is a standout for the entire park. I have a different favorite, but objectively, I would say that this is the best land in the park. It's so incredibly balanced. We've got entertainment. We've got food options. We can go on some of the rides. There's a kids' playground here. There's so much to do. But I mean, if I had to pick one, I would pick the Hiccups Wing Gliders. That is the roller coaster that is here in the land. It goes all throughout the land. If you know Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure over at Universal's Islands of Adventure, it's a fan favorite. This is kind of like the kid version of it. Now, I'm not saying there's not any thrill, but it is saying that I think the kids could do this more often. And because of that, I think it's a standout ride.
Now, associate producer Johnny Jackson in here wanted me to ask about the mac and cheese cone. I hadn't heard of it, but apparently it is the big food item that everyone is talking about in the Isle of Burke.
Yes, it is probably the #1 most talked about food item that's going to be here inside of Isle of Burke. Maybe not even Isle of Burke, but all of Epic Universe. It is a mac and cheese cone. They twist up kind of like a pretzel, a soft pretzel, some dough, and they're going to fill it full of mac and cheese, as well as putting some different meat items inside of it. And there's a couple of different options depending on what you want to get. I have not had it yet. I'm actually having it directly after this. When I was getting set up for this shot, I walked by people and they said, best food item in the entire park.
The best food item in the entire park?
I'm going to go and try it and see if that's true, because I've had some really, really good food items here. But, I mean, I hope they're right. I would love to go and test it out, and they be completely true.
What have you had so far that you have loved of those food items?
Quite a lot. So they have if you like alcoholic drinks, they have a place called Celeste Tiki. That is going to be in Celestial Park, and it's like a small little tiki bar, but it's got great flavor and strong drinks, if that's what you're looking for. Inside of Super Nintendo World, we've got the Toadstool Cafe. The Toadstool Cafe has a bunch of really, really fun themed items. So I just got one that is the Mount Beanpole dessert cake. So it looks like the gigantic hill that Mario has to jump up inside the games. It looks like that, and you get to eat it, and there's raspberries, and there's a bunch of different flavors, and it's adorably cute. Another favorite a lot of people have had is if you go over into the Dark Universe, that's the Universal Monsters Land, that section has what's called a pretzel steak. So it looks like a steak that you stab like a vampire with, and it is a garlic pretzel. A lot of people have really, really enjoyed that one. Overall, I gotta say, Universal has majorly upped their game when it comes to food items in this park. I think this is 10 steps ahead of what they have done in their other parks here in Orlando.
So you've gotten to spend some time there at the park now on a couple of different occasions. So what to you, we've talked about kind of some of the big ticket things, the big things that are getting the attention. Anything underrated that really stands out to you that might be a little underrated?
Yeah, this is actually at all the Super Nintendo worlds across the world. So if you're over in Hollywood or in Universal Studios Japan, The power-up bands are so much fun. So it's going to track you through the park. And when you're inside of the park, you can go and get different coins and you can unlock certain things. There's actually a fourth hidden attraction that is inside of the land. You can only get to it if you have a power-up band. And just, I don't know, it's just so much fun to run around and kind of play these little mini games. And then as you're playing the mini games, you're unlocking a fourth attraction. So that's a good one that I feel like a lot of people won't recognize. You do have to buy the power-up bands to be able to go and do it. But once you have that, you get to collect the coins, get the little things. It adds a lot of gamification to the lands. And I think that's going to be great, especially for annual pass holders and locals that are going to go here again and again and again. And they want to get really deep dive into it.
You seem excited there, and it seems like you're having a blast out there today.
I am absolutely having a blast. So this is my fourth time to be able to visit the park. I've gotten incredibly lucky when I was invited to team member previews, and then I went yesterday for the first annual pass holder day. I was able to take my grandfather, and he's done construction his entire life. So when he got to walk in here and I got to kind of see the excitement through his eyes, it's so much fun. It's been forever since Orlando has gotten a brand new major theme park like this. And we didn't just get a theme park. We have gotten one of the best theme parks I have ever visited. I truly can say this again and again. This park is spectacular, and I am so happy that this is now in our backyard.
What do you think is it that sets it apart?
So it's a lot of things. The first one I would say would be that it's 2025 thinking and 2025 technology. So the park itself is using all new. I mean, everything you look at, the shops, the food items, the rides, the entertainment, everything is something that is brand new. It's also using, I mean, you've seen over a long time, not only between Universal, but Disney and other parks, they've been really pushing the word immersion and trying to make sure that all the entertainment, all the rides are really going with this storyline. And so now we have an entire park that's dedicated to that. Every time you go into one of these portals, you are going to be totally transformed. I mean, we walk through here, I'm in the Isle of Berk, and I am only a 5-minute walk away from being inside of a Super Nintendo world where we have Goombas going around and we have got Bowser and you can go and fight him. Or I can go see the Invisible Man, or I can jump into Harry Potter and I can be in 1920s Paris. It's just the fact that you can do all of that in this one location, and then the rides themselves are really, truly just spectacular.
Well, is there anything you haven't tried that you're still wanting to do?
Yes, so one of the only things I haven't done yet is I have not yet ridden on the Harry Potter Battle at the Ministry attraction. It's currently on a virtual queue, and it is very, very hard to get. I have so far been unsuccessful all 4 times I've tried. There's another one at 6 o'clock. I'm going to try and get on that ride. I've gone through the queue, and if you're a Harry Potter fan, avoid the spoilers. That queue is one of the coolest things you're ever going to see. So avoid it and wait, but I'm hoping to do the ride soon. I did get to do the Le Cirque Arcanu, which is the circus-style show there. Also incredible. I mean, it's I can just keep saying that for everything, though. I'm so happy with this park.
All right. Well, we will cross our fingers for you that you get to ride that ride this afternoon, and we'll have to follow up with you about the mac and cheese cone.
I'll get right back to you right after this.
All right. Sounds good. Theron White, lead publisher of EYNTK.info. Good talking with you. Thanks for joining us live from Epic Universe today.
Of course. Always happy to join. You guys have a great weekend.
All right. You do the same. So really cool to get that kind of inside look there. We are also looking ahead to this weekend and the Orlando Magic playing in the NBA playoffs. They won their play-in game earlier this week and will now play the Celtics coming up on Sunday afternoon. So this afternoon, associate producer Johnny Jackson spoke with Tyler Karen, who is co-host and producer of In the Zone on 96.9 The Game, to see what the Magic need to do to pull off an upset.
Wrapped up with Brandon Kravitz asking Coach Mose, Vegas has this series going to 5. That's where the money's coming in. That's where the betting odds lie. The Celtics are the defending champs, and despite being the 2 seed this year, still one of the odds-on favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. And as I mentioned, kind of the NBA community is pinning the Celtics as a Game 5 exit. How do you embrace the underdog mentality of it? And Mose said, you just do. The Magic are playing with house money right now. If you go out and get swept, that's the defending champs on the other side. If you can push it to 7, it's all the more promising that this Magic team is on the right track. And if you come out with the win, then that accelerates a timeline that this Magic team has been on as far as getting to an NBA championship down the line. So playing with house money, and this Magic team from top to bottom is embracing that underdog role with the opportunity that lies ahead.
So what is a successful season? It is a successful series for the Magic. Is it as simple as pushing into 6 or 7 games and getting it back to Boston?
That's what I think. You ask 10 different people in the Magic community, and you'll get 6 different answers. Whether it's game 6, you got to get to game 6. You can't get embarrassed. Don't get swept. To push it to a gentleman's sweep. The Boston Celtics are going to win the championship. Who even cares? There's so many different answers that you can get with it. Where I lie is I don't put a number to it. I don't say if you get to game 4, 5, 6, 7. Then it's a successful season and a successful series for the Magic. What I say is be competitive. You want to leave your fans, if this is going to be the end of the road for the Magic this season, you want to leave your fans with promise, with hope. You show the good signs in this series and however many games that it is, that you are able to be uber competitive and consistent, another key C word in this series for the Magic, consistent with one of the best teams in the conference. This is a size up. Where do you compare to teams that have championship aspirations and real championship aspirations? And you can take all of that into the offseason. So that's where, depending on how this series goes, I don't think it determines how aggressive anything is this offseason for the Magic, but it's a good measuring stick scenario.
Yeah, and a lot of national analysts that I've seen are basically calling this a done deal. What will it take for the Orlando Magic to shock the world and potentially move on in the playoffs?
This is going to be it's an offense, the Celtics offense versus the Orlando defense battle. Both in their perspectives are some of the top in the league. The Celtics set a new record this season at 3-point makes in a season by an NBA team, beating the Warriors in the 2022-2023 season. The Celtics rather hit over 1,400 threes in 82 games this year, kind of numbers that we never thought that we would see. And Johnny, it's in a way, it's elementary how the Celtics are getting this done in the 3-point success. It's not these elaborate sets. It's not double screens that are creating space. When we go back to being kids and when you learn to play basketball and you learn to shoot a basketball, and you're getting shots up and you have a rebounder, whether it's a parent, a friend, a family member, whoever it might be, when the rebounder gets the ball off the rim, where's the pass coming from? It's coming from the paint. That's what we call inside out basketball. And it goes from the day that you touch a basketball all the way through to when you retire in the NBA. Inside out basketball produces some of the best looks from beyond the perimeter in the league. You get 2 feet in the paint, you kind of collapse the defense, puts more pressure around the rim, and then you kick it out to open shooters. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and credit to Josh Cohen of OrlandoMagic.com. He does a phenomenal job covering this team. He pulled those numbers that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown of Boston have 2 of the highest success in hit rates at blow-bys is what we call them, and it's self-explanatory. It's beating your defender one-on-one and getting 2 feet in the paint. That produces a ton of open looks for this Boston team, where regardless of what 5 are out there for the Celtics, all of them are a threat to knock down a shot from the perimeter. The Magic have been the best team all season long at forcing their opponent to not shoot threes. They give up the fewest threes a game. So it's really going to be a clash of styles, and you have to be more consistent in your pillars than what the Celtics are with theirs.
All right, Tyler, bottom line it for me. If you have never been to a Magic playoff game, if you haven't been to many Magic games, why should you show up at the Kia Center for this series next week?
This is the magic of this era of Orlando Magic basketball, which this era is kind of post-Paolo, or since you drafted Paolo Banchero, because the Magic got in the playoffs with Nikola Vucevic and Aaron Gordon in that 2019. But it was shortly after that the team decided to go a different direction and traded away those stars. In this era with Paolo, Franz, with Jalen Suggs, Wendell Carter Jr., last year was the first taste of true playoff basketball for this group, and those games were electric. It was the hottest ticket in town, a game you wanted to be in the building for. That was against the Cleveland Cavaliers. That, respect to them, but the Boston Celtics are one of the most historic franchises in the league. To add on top that this is now an experienced, a playoff-tested Magic group going up against one of the most storied franchises that the league has ever seen, it just makes it that much more special. This is going to be an environment that you want to be a part of next Friday and Sunday in games 3 and 4. And we'll see what the Magic can do up in Boston this weekend, see if it sets up for further games here in Orlando after that.
And so we'll be watching that series closely. Well, that's going to do it for us here on Fox 35 News Plus. We appreciate you joining us today. I want to let you know, coming up at 5, the Vigil, you can see the large crowd outside the football stadium in Tallahassee to pay respect to the victims of yesterday's shooting. Large crowd there in Tallahassee. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth is there. We'll have a live report coming up on Fox 35 News at 5 in just a couple of minutes. That vigil expected to get underway shortly. So thanks for joining us. We're going to go ahead and pass things off for the start of Fox 35 News at 5. And you can keep it here on Fox Local for that. And we will see you next week, 11 a.m. Monday, with more Fox 35 News Plus.
Right now on Fox 35 News at 5, from students running for cover.
It was just like complete chaos. Everyone was like running all over the place.
To a grieving, somber campus.
And there's hardly anyone outside.